Size more from Remax Realty, Indy Home Pros.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win
Another
it.
one!
He got
Another
it!
one!
Oladipo!
Another one!
Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Worked down by Burke. Bounces into Cody, puts it up, scores!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. How's your Wednesday going? Off and running. We've hit the middle of the week. Waiting to see if Dylan Sims is going to join us today. Get rid of that real quick. I hope your week is going well because we've hit the midway part. If not, you can reset and get a good one going. Mine's been good. It's been relaxing. It's been non-stressful. Not a ton going on. I haven't mentioned we're going to get to speak to Woody today, Coach Mike Woodson. After we finish later on, we'll speak with him, and so we'll have all of that for tomorrow and, of course, later on today. To hear what he has to say, first time he's met with the media en masse, I believe, and I happened to see him on the golf course Saturday, him and Quinn Buckner, where I was playing on Saturday. So just for a second, just said hi, and that was it. But I'm getting the rounds in, man. It was warm, so they were out early, though. The smart guys, they were out early. We had a 12 o'clock tee time, and they were about done. So that means they started about 8 a.m. Smarter guys than we are. What's going on in your world today? Waiting for the basketball world to kick back up. Waiting for people to arrive on campus. To see what kicks up with Indiana basketball. Of course, we'll be talking with Mike Woodson about that today, as I said. So looking forward to that, to see where they are, and that tells you they're done with putting things together. The roster is set, which we pretty much knew that at this point. It's going to be interesting to see how they go forward now. Looking forward. Thanks a lot for everyone joining us on YouTube if you're there, but most people listening to us on radio, of course, but you can find us on YouTube if you wish. IndianaSportsBeatRadio.com. No, it's Indiana Sports Beat Radio on YouTube. What am I talking about? John, you let me say something that wasn't correct. But hope everyone else's world's going on and going well. Indiana looking to start. Well, they're hoping to finish the baseball season on a high note. And as a matter of fact, they have to make the NCAA tournament. They're probably going to have to sweep Maryland. A 3-game set that they have coming up this week to make the playoffs. That's the only way I see them making it in. Unfortunately, now they were a team that was solidly in the NCAA tournament, but that changed. Especially when you lose, they've lost 7 out of 8. A little surprising on how they ended up this year, especially with the pitching that they have. It's did not expect that at all. They lost 3 out of 4 in losing the. Let's see, that's probably someone different I'm talking about. That's right. They did square off against Nebraska and Ohio State in a pivotal weekend, trying to regain some of that, but just they couldn't get it done. Indiana is the latest name that for Indiana basketball. Jalen Hood, and I want to make sure I'm pronouncing his last name right, Schifino. But he is the latest name Indiana is pursuing, big name. It's a 2022. Indiana continues to push hard. For some, and that's the thing. If you've noticed, Indiana is going after elite talent. Now, before, Archie Miller offered scholarships to elite talent, but that was about as far as that was going to go. Indiana is now actively courting these guys. They're courting this talent, and effectively, as you can see. The latest, Jalen Hood-Schifino, a Montverde, Florida Academy guard. He's running with Team CP3 in the grassroots season. He's been already having a standout season at multiple events throughout the spring and summer. He's ranked number 42 in the Rivals 150 class of 2022. As a sophomore, he averaged over 15 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds a game at the Combine Academy. That's pretty good. That's against elite talent. When asked about his game, he said, a lot, honestly. It's like an everyday grind going against the top players in the country and with the top coaches. It has really helped his game when asked about how it's improved. But those are the type of players that Indiana is going after and getting now. So that's going to be, you're going to see that difference. How fast will you see that difference? Well, I think you're going to see the difference immediately. How effectively that difference is able to be put in place. Will that take a season? And by that, I mean competing at the national level. I don't know if that's going to need another season or of that. It might. But when you have the talent, everything is possible. So talent is not going to be a problem for Indiana basketball going forward. Coaching is not going to be a problem for Indiana basketball going forward. Recruiting is not going to be a problem for Indiana basketball going forward. So if you're an Indiana basketball fan, you should be sitting pretty happily right now. Indiana football is trying to get to that level. They're seemingly there. The recruiting is moving at a level that is unseen in the past. You've got recruits or transfers now coming in from the top programs in the country. Some were former 5-star, former 4 stars. Again, elite talent, no matter what you're talking about, makes a difference in what you're able to do. So that is just the talent upgrade in sports, period, is going to be, you're going to be able to see it very quickly. With Indiana football, not as quickly because they're going against just as talented or more talented. It's a different scenario in football. Football and basketball are just two different animals. Man, it takes you can't get to the Alabama levels. Part of that is because unless you want to do things outside of the lines, maybe. But basketball, not a problem. Football, you're going to competing is something they have not been able to do, but they're more than capable of doing now. And I think that they can stay there. It's going to be very interesting this year. I mentioned seeing what happens with the fans in the stands. I've been very high on this football team coming up. But you have to remember, and I have to remember, there will be fans in the stands when they go to play Iowa, when they go at Michigan. That's going to be a whole different scenario than it was last year. And teams coming to Bloomington, well, that needs to become a problem for them. It has not been in the past. Playing in Bloomington is not a problem for other teams. Indiana fans, they need to make that a problem. That needs to become an issue for other teams. Now, that's kind of hard to do because both end zones are not filled with fans. You've got one that has virtually no fans. It's just the walkway, and the other is sparse seating. But you can still make that louder than you would think. But that's the thing. When it's the fourth quarter and there's not a student in the stands over there, it's pretty damn hard to do that. So, Indiana football fans are going to have to make some adjustments this year. And that, if Indiana, that's part of Indiana having a successful football season. or the fans. If you think that doesn't matter, you're nuts. Look how do you think Michigan was as poor of a team last year as their record? Probably. And that's the same, not much far from the same team they'll have this year, but having those fans in the stands, that is a 12th man. It adds an element that you can't get. You can't get that in Bloomington because it's twice as many people that the stadium could even hold in Bloomington. So there's that. For something you guys want to talk to, let us know. Some guys hitting us up. Mike hitting us up. Where is my there it is. It's amazing the number of top kids who are interested in IU now that Miller is gone and Woodson is here. So much not for being able to connect with the young kids. I don't think it's just be honest with you. What was there to it? I've said this the whole time he was here. Why would you want to come play for Archie Miller? What about that? What about him drew you? Nothing. So, yeah, that's not a problem I ever saw. Why was recruiting going to be a problem under this staff? That's nuts. To ever think that was going to be an issue. Archie didn't have a problem offering kids, but yeah, getting them here, that didn't happen. There's a reason. You have to have a reason to go someplace. You have to be pulled there. I mean, you have you're going there for development, to win. One of those two. Both, probably. Guess what did not happen? Well, we already know that. But so, yeah, why would you expect someone to have come here? Alan's with us. Do you not think with winning football expected that the fans will show up? Well, conventional wisdom would think that, Alan. But, unfortunately, Indiana fans have not done so yet. You would certainly hope that there is no reason for Memorial Stadium not to be sold out. My gosh, look at the freaking schedule they have. First home game is Idaho. Second one is Cincinnati. A top 10 team. So we'll find out. They'll have a chance to show up. And I certainly hope they get to. We got to take a break. We got plenty more to get to. Rick Bozich is going to be on with us today. Looking forward to talking to Hall of Famer Rick Bozich. Kyle Neddenriep, of course, as well. And we'll see if Dylan's going to join us. We're back with more after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty Indy Home Pros.
Hey, Hoosier fans. Man, I've not even heard from Dylan.
That's got to be frustrating, man.
Yep.
I mean, it makes me anxious just sitting here at 9 o'clock waiting for y'all to show up on time. I checked in with Kyle. Haven't heard from him yet, but hopefully he'll join when he normally does.
Of course it will be.
And before you told me you got Rick Bozich last night, I was going to suggest, if you ask for suggestions, Aaron Matus again, especially if Dylan doesn't show up today.
Well,
if you need another guest, I'm not saying you need another guest.
Yeah. When's Kyle coming on?
It's supposed to be now. Always check in with him in the middle of the first segment and make sure he's good for 9:20 as usual. He hasn't responded yet, but maybe he just won't. Maybe he'll just show up.
Man.
Did you have a chance to listen to the updated demo reel last night?
I don't think so. I think I saw it was updated last.
Gotcha. They can just take a look after.
Man, I got to get somebody on here.
Kyle should show up. I'm just surprised he hasn't texted me back yet. sometimes I guess it's just easier for people to not make it a priority during the summer months.
Well,
There's not much going on. I don't know. That might not be the case. I'm just thinking. If Kyle says something to me and he doesn't join, I'll just shoot you a text. I'll go ahead and bring us back in.
For a relaxing night with the family, meeting for lunch, hanging with friends, or on the golf course, Sam's Restaurants has multiple locations and something for everyone. Sam's Restaurant in Fishers has homemade coffee cakes and much more. Sam's Place in Broad Ripple has wings, tender steaks, and seafood. Sam's Ale House in Carmel and on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Sam's Family of Restaurants. Fresh, local, family. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and RE/MAX Realty Indy Home Pros. Here's Jim Coyle.
how's everybody doing today on this Wednesday? Made it through to the halfway point of this week. And the craziness does not stop. NBA basketball is carrying on, and the Lakers beat the Suns 109-102. Thrilling Game 2 action there. I haven't paid a lot of attention to it, I'll be quite honest. The Sun, ghostwriter of a late senator, says Donald Trump tried to stop the probe of the Patriots Spygate scandal. Hey, Kyle Neddenriep, how are you doing, sir?
What's up, Jim?
Oh, I was just getting ready to talk about Donald Trump apparently tried to stop the Spygate scandal back in the day, so I'll talk about that later. I haven't gotten into it yet to read the bits and pieces, so I don't know. Arlen Specter, he lost the investigation. Really? I didn't know all this. Arlen Specter lost an investigation into the Spygate scandal back in the day.
Is that the Rams Patriots one?
Wasn't it the Jets?
Oh, I forget.
Because Mangione, wasn't it Mangione, and who formerly used to be with the Patriots?
That might have been. I lose track of the gates. I remember him cheating.
Yeah. What was the Rams one? I don't remember that.
They were filming their practices before the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
The first one they won. One of their video guys.
I grew up a Rams fan. L.A. Rams, the original Rams.
I did too. I still
Vince
am.
Ferragamo.
Yeah,
I am too. Vince Ferragamo, Jackie Slater, Eric Dickerson, Pat Hayden. Even remember when Joe Namath played for the Rams for a minute. Did he end his career there?
I barely remember Ferragamo, and then Dickerson he's like my favorite player when I was real little. So that's how I kind of I like their uniforms when I was real little.
Me too. They're awesome. How's it going with you, man? What's new?
Not much. I mean, working on covered a really great softball game last night. Top 2 teams in the state, and I got another one tonight. So looking forward to getting out and seeing some more softball.
Was that New Palestine and Roncalli?
Yeah. It was 0-0 going into the 7th, and then Roncalli broke through, and then they got 4 actually in the 7th inning, and 3 of them with 2 outs. But they got a pitcher, Keegan Rothrock, who she struck out 15 batters, and I mean she's committed to Florida only as a sophomore, and just really, really good. But yeah, the whole atmosphere, about 1,000 people there, and New Pal's got a really nice facility, softball facility. Tents. Softball's fun because it's a fast-moving sport, especially when you got 2 really good teams, and they just got more and more intense as the game went on. And each inning, you put the zeros up on the board, and you knew it was going to come down to one big hit or one mistake. And I'm glad it ended up. The winning hit was a double to the fence. So I'm always like, feeling like, gosh, I hope it doesn't come down to somebody making an error or a pass ball or something. And Roncalli won it. So I was glad that it happened that way instead of, a screw up. But, really, really good game. And the interesting thing now is Roncalli, New Pal beat them during the season. New Pal was undefeated. They were 28-0, so they lose one game and they're out. Roncalli had only had 2 losses on the year. One of those was to New Pal, and now they play the other team that had beat them, Franklin Central, on Thursday in the sectional championship. So the 2 teams that beat them were in front of them. Kind of worked out in their favor to have it happen that way. But, just a lot of it was a good, great atmosphere, great game. And tonight I got Center Grove and Mooresville, which should be a really good one as well. And, just working on some of that, working on some baseball stuff, some football stuff. I had a story on Caden Curry earlier this week, the Center Grove big-time prospect, also plays baseball. Really, I saw him play Friday. Can really hit the ball, but yeah.
And softball, you see it on ESPN all over the place right now. College softball, it's a little more exciting than it used to be. They've turned that game it's a fun game to watch. Sometimes, I'll be honest with you, it's more fun than watching baseball.
No, I was telling one of my colleagues last night, Rich Torres, he works for the Greenfield paper. We were sitting next to each other, and I was telling him the same thing. Is like I prefer, honestly prefer covering softball to baseball. High school, it's just a faster moving game. It's a on TV. I sit there. I like watching baseball too, but especially like once the college regionals start and stuff like that. But I also watch softball. It's a fun game. My cousin, actually, she played college softball at Wichita State. So, I'd watch them some, and she played JUCO ball before that. And, I covered it in college when they had it at Missouri State. Always had some good programs there, good teams there. And, got to enjoy watching the game. And like I said, it's fast moving. It's you have pitchers who can throw, but pretty much all the time, the top pitchers are able to throw because of the motion. It doesn't put that strain on your arm that it does for baseball. So you always have really good pitching, so yeah, I do. It's different. It's definitely, I kind of forgot. I hadn't covered a softball game in a while before last night. And, you kind of forget the dugouts are so different, as far as the cheering and the New Pal girls were wearing like cowboy hats and stuff. It's just kind of, it's fun. It's a fun atmosphere. But I was like, man, I could not, I don't think keep yelling and screaming, like the dugouts were doing the whole time. It's just, they're so into it the whole game. But yeah, it's a fun game. I mean, it really is. It's when it's played at a high level, it's really enjoyable. And from a perspective of a sports writer, it gets over quickly. So that part of it I like too.
And then there's in high school basketball, a few coaching changes. I noticed I guess the biggest one would be Hamilton Southeastern from what it looks like.
Yeah, that job should be filled here pretty soon. Might be today even. So should have some news on that coming here in the next 28 to 48 hours. But yeah, that's Brian Satterfield moved over to coach the girls side, and kind of a surprising move. He'd been there for about 20 years on the boys side, had a lot of success with the HSC there, and of course coached Gary Harris and Zach Urban, a couple of Mr. Basketball winners. So he does have a daughter in 7th grade, so he said that was part of the reason why made the move. But yeah, that's probably the biggest. Noblesville's open. That should probably be filled. Last I talked to Noblesville, probably by I would say next week sometime. June. It's a key time for June. You have the high school teams playing together, playing some shootouts and leagues and practicing together. And then there's always the Charlie Hughes tournament at the towards the end of the month anyway. So it's important to have somebody in place, by that time. We saw yesterday, or actually it was late last week, Mooresville filled their job. Shabazz, a colleague from Richmond, came over. He coached at Fort Wayne Northside, led that team with Keon Brooks and Jalen Butts. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago, they made the state finals. So he's taken over at Mooresville. That's interesting. I thought Mooresville has kind of been a team that's always good, not quite a team that makes it to a statewide level of success, but a program that's been really solid. So that was an interesting fill, I thought. And, there hasn't, there's been a few jobs filled here and there that not huge jobs that from a statewide perspective. Todd Windland moving to Lapel, I thought was interesting. But I'd say, Noblesville, Hamilton Southeastern, Bishop Chatard is open right now. So you've got a few, probably not quite as many as there was last year, but definitely a few big ones.
And I wonder why that is. Last year there wasn't, it was the COVID year. I would have thought that there would have been less movement last year than this year, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. It's I talked to Pat O'Neill. I did a story on him. He had a Danville baseball coach. You might remember he coached at Brownsburg when Lance Lynn and Drew Storen, and did a story on him this week. But we're kind of talking about difference, kind of about parents and it kind of wears on you and stuff like that. And he and there's some older coaches, and he's one of them who said, I don't really have any problems with the parents. He's like, I think they're scared of me, or, I think they just kind of stay away or know to stay away. Jack Kiefer's kind of the same way at Lawrence North. He was talking to him about that. He said, we don't really cross paths that much, and they don't bother me. And so I think for some of the veteran coaches, maybe that's not as big of a deal. But I think it does drive coaches out. And, I don't know what the, when you talk to them off the record, especially, I think there's a lot of that. In some cases, I think we've talked about this before, but there's reason that to raise red flags, or, maybe there's, something going on within the program that needs to be brought to attention. But it's mostly playing time, and I think that does wear on coaches a little bit. And, so there's definitely part of it that I think is just a wear down factor. And I don't know what that. I have to go back and look at the numbers and see what they were last year exactly. And sometimes it just seems like a lot, and then you look back and it's maybe the same as any year. But some years there's just bigger jobs that open, and it seemed like last year there was especially a lot in our area anyway. So, but I know it's the parent thing is a real issue, and I know it does drive coaches, and plus you're just not making enough money in a lot of jobs to compensate for the time it takes and the grief that you take to put that time in and really, do the job. And also you have administrators change sometimes too. And then you have, maybe the person who hired you don't feel the support is there anymore. So that can be a factor too. But there's all kinds of reasons coaches get out, and it's tough to build a program. It takes a lot of work and a lot of time to do it.
Absolutely. And we've seen the effects, or I guess we really haven't fully seen the effects of the one-time transfer rule allowed in college. That's not something that I ever expect to see in high school, of course. But what we did see this past year was the IHSA just get ripped by a judge, as they should have, because that is finally either waking them up or letting them know that, hey, everybody knows what's going on in there. You guys got to get your stuff straight. Do you think that with that and the judge ripping them, that they are going to make some changes, at least attempt to start doing things in a more fair and equitable way? Because obviously that has not been the case prior to this time.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to, it is. I mean, there has definitely been a history of, I think, the perception of arrogance on the IHSA's part in cases like, especially the Jaden Brewer. And I can speak to that because I talked to I talked to the lawyer, talked to Jaden, talked to his mom at length several times about this case. And, basically they were, painted as being guilty before, they even felt like they had a chance to say their side of the case. And, and I know in Jaden's case, he was a high profile athlete who he started out at Avon. His brother went to Ben Davis. But he did start at Avon as a freshman, he started in school there as a freshman. So, that was kind of the where they wanted to go. People have that right to go where they want to go. They never left Wayne Township though, which is where Ben Davis is located. And in most cases, I think if you're going to a school, then you come back to your home school, and Avon and Ben Davis, neighbor each other. So it wasn't a far, drive for him to go to Avon, but in anyway, for him to come back there, normally that they're going to allow that. Avon did not sign off in that case to let him come back. And then, they felt by Avon doing that, it basically made him guilty, and they had to prove being innocent. Meanwhile, he was not able to play varsity basketball as a senior. And this is a kid who is a Division I player. He will be eventually. He's probably going to end up at a prep school for a year, but he missed, I think, 10, 11, 12 games to start his season before the judge stepped in and overturned this ruling. And I think the appeal process, the Department of Education, they felt like, I think that it should have been overturned as well, but they had to go by what the IHSA had said originally. And I know by being in that room, Jaden Brewer's mom, felt like, you walk into that courtroom and the appeal and, you feel like, everything's against you, and, they're making you feel like you're kind of belittling you. And, that's a feeling, that's anecdotal, but it's more than just her who's felt that in the past. And I'm not saying everyone in the IHSA is bad people and everything they do is bad, because I don't believe that. I think, like we talked about before, what they're doing with Special Olympic programs and things like that is awesome. And I know good people in the IHSA. And so it's not that, they're not completely evil. I don't believe, but I do think in this transfer process, something needs to change, there's something inherently wrong about just making a kid guilty. And there wasn't any evidence there of that. It never was brought to light anyway of any evidence that he did anything wrong in this case. And I think parents have felt that before, that, what did we do wrong here? We're guilty, and now we have to prove our innocence, where it should be the other way around. So, I think I hope that, and I've always felt like there needs to be a more black and white transfer rule anyway, because by doing it this way and having it so gray, I mean, granted, most kids are allowed to be eligible, but it feels like, every once in a while, they'll stop a kid like a Brewer or Aaron Gordon a few years ago, who, all right, high profile case, we're not gonna let this kid transfer and play, and it to send a message. And I don't think that's the way it needs to be done. But again, it's a convoluted process in a lot of ways. I think that could be simplified by making just, all right, here's what our transfer rule is. You have to sit out for this amount of time, or, whatever the case may be. So then you don't have to go through this whole process of being, made guilty before any evidence comes out. And I think that's where the problem lies. And I think that's where the frustration is from a lot of people, even from the outside. People don't know about these, even all the details of these particular cases, but people are confused by the process. And I think just more, what's the word? Transparency, I think would be a good thing.
Yeah, it seems like the IHSA has set it up to where their goal is to disallow every transfer if possible, to dissuade anything. It's almost like the NCAA. It's just, let's not do anything and everything will be fine. But that doesn't work, as we've seen. I don't know if you've got time to stick around for a few more minutes. If so, I'd love to talk to you about this Overtime Elite program that is going. Are you familiar with that?
I saw you talking about the La Lumiere League?
Yeah. If you got a few minutes, I'd love to talk just a little bit about that and then let you go, because I know you're busy, but we do have to take a quick break. We'll be back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty Indy Home Pros. Whether you're looking for a relaxing night with a family.
Do you have a few minutes, Kyle?
Yeah, I can stay a few minutes.
Okay. Yeah, everybody's been commenting on that, and they just landed all those twins, Amen and Asar Thompson.
Yeah, I was going to look more into that, and write something about it, but I haven't.
Overtime Elite will be coached by former UConn coach Kevin Ali, and players who sign with the league are expected to earn a minimum of $100,000 per year, including bonuses in addition to shares of equity in overtime. Wow. A sports network popular among prep players. They're also able to profit on their name, image, and likeness, a direct benefit not enjoyed, blah, 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 blah. Perks also include health care as well as up to $100,000 in college tuition covered for those who do not pursue professional opportunities after playing in the league. Setting them up. It's one of 2 rising landing spots for player. Oh, the G League, yeah. So this is competing with the G League.
Okay. Well, yeah, I do remember this. What I was thinking about was that prep school. League
Alliance League. Yeah. Well, there's that, which is cool. But this is.
Yeah. I remember this from, I think in March, this kind of came out. It is interesting.
The Overtime Elite program, a startup professional path designed to provide an alternative to college for high school prospects, made another major splash Tuesday as 4-star twins, the Thompson twins, signed 2-year deals with the program. So they go in there for 2 years, make a couple $100,000. They have also got $100,000 left for college. It's not a bad deal.
Yeah, this is I'm reading that now.
Now that is going to cut in to the John Calipari's.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, it's going to be the G League has not worked.
Mm-hmm.
I think this will work. But what do I know? When's the first big AAU event?
They're going on. It's just that the coaches can't go to them until June. There'll be a couple in June and then 3 weekends in July. So, the real big one will be like the Peach Jam in July.
Coming back.
$180 a month, or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty Indy Home Pros. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Wednesday. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star has been kind enough to stick around for an extra segment. We talked, I think it was a few days ago, I don't think it was with Kyle, though, about the new league. I'll call it a super high school league, I guess. La Lemure and was IMG, all those academies are, which they might as well, because what normal high school wants to play those guys? And who else can they play?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I was reading that. I think Jeff Borzello from ESPN had this story either yesterday or 2 days ago. It does make a lot of sense. An eight team, basically prep school league, and then they'll partner with ESPN and have games on TV and whatnot. So, I think that's makes a lot of sense. I think probably makes those makes those leagues stronger, makes those programs stronger. So I think that, something we've seen more of is those games, those teams, they were playing like a, kind of an end of season championship tournament, basically, that's kind of outside the realm of the normal high school, like the typical high school tournaments that we see. So I it does make sense. You wonder if it makes that, especially if they do get the TV time and things like that, and it just makes those programs even stronger than they already are, and it's kind of a, recruiting base for, for the normal high school, from the normal high school team. So, that's, and La Lumire's part of that. La Lemure is in Indiana, of course, northern part of the state, and they've taken, some of the top players in the state over the years, and also a lot of kids from the East Coast and things like that. And one of the better programs in the country as far as that goes over the last decade or so. So, some local interest as well with that. But, interesting goings on, and it's always kind of a shifting landscape as far as that goes.
Well, Tim says the Georgia football offers a 7th grader, Amari Saab. He's the youngest brother of 2022 5-star Keon Saab. Huh, 7th grader. That's something. There ought to be a rule against that, man.
Well, I remember we had a girl here had a Evansville basketball offer as a 7th grader, and it's almost like more of a PR thing. I mean, it's so far away, 6 years away basically from going to college, that it's more of a PR thing, I think, than anything. But I don't know. I mean, I see stuff like that, but it's like, what does it really matter? It's.
Speaking of high school, the Overtime Elite is a new program. It is a startup professional path designed to provide an alternative to college for high school prospects. And man, this thing, as opposed to the G League, I think it's making a splash. And then I think this is going to work the way they've got this set up, Kyle. They made waves last week. They signed brothers Matt and Ryan Bawley from West Oaks Academy in Orlando, Florida. But the Thompson brothers are high school graduating members of the 2022 class with 2023 draft eligibility. So they were a very coveted group. But this Overtime Elite, it will be coached by former UConn coach Kevin Ali, and players who sign with the league are expected to earn a minimum of $100,000 per year, not included bonuses, in addition to shares of equity in Overtime, a sports network popular among prep players. They are also able to profit off their name, image, and likeness already, and as much as up to $100,000 of college tuition covered for those who do not pursue professional opportunities after playing in the league. Kind of a good deal for some of these guys. I mean, that will seem to work for certain kids.
Yeah, I mean, it is really interesting. I think they've locked up a couple of 2023 prospects already, and like you said, these two guys from Florida who are 2022 guys who are very, very highly ranked. So you're always, I think, a little bit leery of they're talking about all this money and that sort of thing, and you wonder, is it sustainable, over time? I think that's yet to be seen, obviously, and you just don't know for sure over the long term. But with the kind of the changing world of college athletics with name, image, and likeness, this is kind of falls under that umbrella from a high school perspective, and it's got to be super enticing, for these kids who, have this chance, have this opportunity, at a pretty young age. So, I guess my feeling is it sustainable? Overtime Elite has kind of built up its brand, over time as something that kids, basketball players follow, and it's kind of they've made a lot of waves of their mixtapes on YouTube and things like that. You'll always see the name Overtime on there, and that's what they do. And so they kind of have a built-in audience that way. So I think that makes it interesting that it's not an old school system. It's something kids are know already. And they obviously have some some impact that way. So, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I have to read more about it. And I remember reading this, I think it was back in March, about the league they were planning on starting up. I'll be interested to kind of learn more and read more about it. I'm curious to see, how it gets started and what the, what the lasting, impact of it will be, and if they're able to stay sustainable over time. That's always the question. It's definitely intriguing, and you wonder if it has a local impact as well. If any kids end up going that direction from around here.
Well, also, who are they going to play? Is it a league or a team? If it's coached by Kevin Ali, I'm like, okay, well, who are they going to play against?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer. I don't know what if that's
a confusing thing. I mean, the G League has multiple teams where, I mean, I guess this is what they're trying to get to. But if they only build up a team in the first year, are they just going on their future?
Playing prep schools and things like that, or yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure about that either.
Be interesting to find out. What else is going on? Talked about the AAU events coming up this summer. The Peach Jam, of course, the Big E, and there later on. But coaches getting out, visits, whether it's football or basketball, that has been something that hasn't happened for nearly 2 years because you got to go back the season before last. That they get out and start doing that again and seeing kids and being seen. That's going to make a big difference for these kids and for the programs.
Yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, you'll have kids starting to take visits here at the start of June for football, or basketball too. Football's kind of in a key spot right now. I was talking to Caden Curry, the Center Grove defensive lineman. He's trying to map out his visits, but he's got baseball still. And Center Grove's really good. They could be making a run, in the tournament. But interesting to talk to him. He had some really good things to say about IU and Tom Allen. And that would be an absolutely monstrous get, if IU could lock down Caden Curry because he's, got Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State. He's planning to take official visits to all three of those. So you're running up against the big dogs when you're talking about Caden Curry, who's probably – I'm not sure I've seen a defensive lineman as good as him in my time covering high school football. But said in Indiana, may get an official visit. Well, at least get another unofficial visit. And they were his first offer. He's got some friends who have walked on at IU from Center Grove, so that would be pretty exciting, I think, for Hoosier fans if they could get Caden Curry. I'm not saying that's happening for sure. They're in very tough competition for him, but yeah, I mean he's planning on taking visits. Once they get that figured out. So a lot of that will start happening, start to get back to doing some on-campus visits, some, more in-person recruiting as far as basketball as well. A couple events in June, dates that coaches can get out to watch events. And then obviously in July, there's three, I think it's either 2 3-day windows and 1 4-day or vice versa. But anyway, there's probably 10 days they can be out recruiting in July as well. So, should be back to somewhat normal. We saw Phil Mickelson and the crowd that he was following him at golf. I mean, that looked normal. So it's fun to see things start to get back to that realm again in sports. Yeah,
Caden Curry, one of those guys that's a guy Indiana needs to get for a couple of reasons. To me, They need. I want to see them beat Ohio State and Alabama and Clemson for an Indiana kid. Who's DeJuan Jones? That he was a boy. That was one that if you get that is where that starts a trickle for the. I've got this. I talk about it all the time. This recruiting list that goes back to like 2005 for Indiana, and you can see once they got their first 4-star in 2011, how the recruiting just started moving over to veteran recruiting and getting those home guys. When you lock down the best of your own state, then you're really you can tell things have changed because it's hard to turn down an Ohio State for any kid. I don't care where you're from or in Alabama because you're probably got a good chance of playing for a national championship. But yeah, it's going to be great. When Indiana is able to do that, to keep those guys home, then the corner will really have been turned, I think. Well, yeah, and then I think Caden Curry will be a great college player, but from a perception standpoint, that would be, just if that would happen, you think about the initial day it happens, and you're or whoever. I'm writing the story, and I'm sure a lot of other people. Who'd they beat out to get him? Well, they beat out Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State. I mean, that would be, on top of the momentum they've
established on the football field, I mean, that would be monstrous in recruiting. Like I said, he's the real deal, on the field. But that perception of getting him over those other schools and then building, like you said, kind of building momentum, in recruiting is a real thing as well. So, if there's ever a chance, it seems like this would be a pretty good one to make something like that happen. Now, I will say too, I mean, he hasn't visited these places yet. So, he doesn't have just because of the pandemic, he hasn't been able to get to Ohio State or Clemson or Alabama. So once you get there and see it in person, it's going to be pretty hard. And I totally understand, why he would commit to one of those schools. I mean, that's if you have that opportunity, not many people do. Why wouldn't you want to go play for one of those programs? So, that will change things, I think, once he goes and sees them. But I do know, from talking to him, very good relationship with Tom Allen. He even, I can't remember, he said, that's my man, or that, we talk at least once a week. They offered me first, so there's definitely a connection there. And like I said, he's got a couple of friends walking on there. So, it's a real, it's a real option for him. And I think he's really considering it. But like I said, once you get on those campuses, man, it's a different ball game when you get to Alabama or Clemson or Ohio State. So it's tough competition, but I think IU's got to feel like, hey, we're at least in this thing. We've got a shot, and we're going to keep recruiting him like we have a real shot. So I think that's pretty exciting.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the board on rivals, they've got Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson listed 1, 2, 3 as far as the shot, and then the others are listed in Indiana's in the others. But like you just said, you just never know. Certainly, it's hard to compete.
He said Oregon and IU are had really been after him too. I don't know if those 5 will be the ones he ends up taking or not. Sometimes they plan 5 and they only go on 1 and then they commit. So yeah, you just don't know for sure at this point. But I would say IU's higher than just one of the other 2 dozen. I definitely think they're if they're not in that top 3, they're right behind it. So I don't think he's just saying that. I think he does have a real connection there, and obviously Center Grove's not less than an hour from Bloomington, so there's also the proximity factor as well. So we'll see. I'm not saying they're going to get him, but I think they are a real threat at least.
We never talked about Taven Jackson going to Tennessee. That just kind of went by, and of course they have offered him as well. But Taven Jackson to Tennessee. I don't know if I would call that a surprise, but that's would not have been in the top 3 that I would have thought where he would have landed for a couple of reasons. But I didn't go through the recruiting process.
Yeah, I mean, he was. I talked to him shortly before he committed, and he was definitely high on Tennessee. But I thought he was going to take his visits first. It's hard for quarterbacks though, because there is some pressure. They're not going to take 5 quarterbacks in a recruiting class. So you kind of have to jump on it when you have the opportunity. And he did. They have a new coach coming in there. And I think Taven saw an opportunity to jump in there and kind of become the guy from the beginning with a new coach coming in. So, they were definitely in there, and he wasn't really looking at any, Big Ten schools. He was all, Florida State, Arizona State, Tennessee, Auburn was in there. So it was really nothing Big Ten related he was even looking at. But Tennessee, great program over the years, been very up and down here lately, mostly down. But really good fan base, and I think he thought he had a chance to maybe start something new with a new coach coming in and a new tradition, and so he jumped on it. Like I said, for quarterbacks, I talked to Caden Curry about that as well. If he felt any pressure to kind of grab a spot, and he said it's just different for defensive linemen than it is for quarterbacks. Most of these places are going to wait for him, and you can take a few more guys at that position than you can at quarterback. So that's kind of why Taven maybe jumped at that faster than people expected him to kind of get his spot locked in.
What's coming up next for you, Kyle?
Yeah, like I said, I've got softball today. I've got baseball Monday. Got some more feature stories coming. Got some Indian All-Star stuff that'll be around the corner. And working on a couple projects, too, that I think will be fun this summer. Actually, one of them's on a Little League program that's shutting down, unfortunately, at the end of the spring. So been fun. Follow these little guys around a little bit the last couple of weeks. So it should be a fun story.
Looking forward to it, man. As always, everything's great from you, from the Indy Star, Kyle Neddenriep. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you, brother.
Hey, no problem, Jim. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Have a great rest of your week.
You too.
Thank you very much. Hey, we got Hall of Famer Rick Bozich coming up next. Looking forward to it. And we're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty Indy Home Pros.
Hey, Hoosier fans.
Do I have time to grab my coffee?
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'll be right. Good. How are you?
Good. I'm going to pull up that baseball schedule. Well, I didn't even look at that. Who's doing what? MLB. Let's see. American League. The White Sox. What?
That's the hat he has on.
Well, I know that. He's a Sox fan. I'm just saying where they are. They're in freaking first place, man.
Well, there you go.
Kyle should have had his Tigers hat on. I don't know that I have a Reds hat anymore. I'd have to go through my box of hats.
He went to look for a baseball cap.
No, I had it on. I didn't have my coffee.
No, I did.
Oh.
I don't think I have my Reds hat anymore. So I'm like, man, I used to have a Reds hat. I don't know what I did. Billy Hatcher gave it to me, actually. It was good to me. I swapped it for CBS posters.
Woodson's at 11. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
How long will that be? Half an hour?
He'll probably. I bet he does, because this is the first mass meet with the media, I think.
Since the first one?
Yeah. I saw him on the golf course, him and Quinn, Saturday at a place called Stonecrest, which is south. Like, I'm at the Point, which is just south of Bloomington, and it's just west of me a little bit, 4 miles.
Oh, really?
They were out.
A nice course?
Yeah, it's really not. It's an unbelievable place to live. It's unbelievable how they have created this place in the middle of freaking nowhere. 3 nines. It has 3 nines on it. Really nice kept course. The houses are really nice, and I guarantee you the money is real estate better. It's a little gym. It's a hidden little gym.
Is that where those guys live?
No, I don't think Quinn has to live in India. No, does he lives in Bloomington?
No, he lives in
I don't know
Bloomington.
where. Yeah, but he could, because those houses are nice, and it's a new development, and because it's not far away. It's like I said, it's 5 minutes from me, which I'm 15 minutes from Bloomington. But
All right, I'm going to bring us back.
Sam's Place in Broad Ripple has wings, tender steaks, and seafood. Sam's Ale House in Carmel and on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink.
today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sillersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty Indy Home Pros. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back. Joined now by Hall of Fame writer Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. Rick, how are you, sir?
Good, Jim. How are you?
Good. I was looking up the standings, and I'm like, wow, the Sox are in first, man. They're at the top.
Having a good year, other than the weekly controversies with Tony La Russa.
Yeah, how's that been? Oh,
it seems to flare up every week. People find reasons. lot of people didn't want him to get the job in the first place for a variety of reasons, and every time he screws up, everybody jumps on him. And last week, he ignited the whole old school, new school baseball thing because he got mad at one of his players for swinging at a 3-0 pitch and hitting a home run. And people don't talk about the game better. At least they're talking about the White Sox, right?
There you go. That's perfect. And they're in first place. So what more can you ask for? All kinds of things going on. Of course, down in Louisville, there was an issue at the U of L, which we've talked about that a little bit. But I don't know how much you can put that on Louisville. But the question is there anything to what was said? If there is, then that's an issue. If it wasn't, it's just really bad luck, I guess.
Yeah, we don't really know yet because we never not heard the full story. Dino Gaudio, for your listeners, has been charged with trying to extort U of L and Chris Mack by the story is that when Chris Mack made a change at the end of the season, getting rid of Luke Murray and Dino Gaudio, who'd been with him all 3 years here at Louisville, that Dino didn't take it very well and told Chris Mack that if that indeed was going to be the case, he was going to go to the media with some NCAA violations about the program he knew about. And Chris Mack tape recorded the conversation, and it went to the feds. And I think Dino Gaudio is already working on a guilty plea, and this thing I think is going to be resolved in the next couple of weeks.
And that's what I've seen, which doesn't mean that what he said wasn't true, but that brings up two questions. Why would that conversation have been recorded by Chris Mack? There had to be something to lead him to do that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he took the threat seriously enough and felt he was being extorted, or he was given the advice to do that. But, coaches I've talked to and people I've talked to said it's hard to believe that a friendship of over 30 years is going to end in this kind of a manner. But it certainly seems to be, because Dino Gaudio, from what I know, and I know pretty surely on this matter, is like a couple of days after this went down, he was out of town and hadn't been back.
Yeah, it's a sad situation to see, and that'll play out and see. Now, if it does in fact come back that there were some violations, that would obviously be a really problematic for Louisville. Yeah,
I mean, we're talking about the ones we know that have been alleged, minor stuff, not grade one, or I don't know if grade A. Grade one, I think, is the level one. That's the word. It takes me a while to come up with the right word.
Because they change them all the time.
The problem for Louisville is that they've been in front of the infractions committee twice. Well, the second case is winding to its conclusion right now. And from what we all know, the one thing they don't like is if you break the rules while you're already on probation and you're in front of the IARP. We've learned all these terms in Louisville. It's been a great educational experience to learn about all the NCAA ups and downs. But yeah, you shouldn't be taking any chances with breaking any rules while you're vulnerable to being put on probation. It doesn't seem to be a very wise course. I don't care if it is. One of them was like graduate managers were practicing, and one coach told me, he said a lot of coaches would have an issue with that. That's not done. Another one was something about recruiting videos or something.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that. Are you helping kids out by making their videos for them, or that stuff is beyond me. But the one with graduate managers actually participating in practices, I've been told by several coaches that's a no-no.
Yeah, and it's well known, because it's just like when Indiana hired all these new coaches and you add Thad Matta and those guys, or where Larry Brown was mentioned, they cannot participate in practice, and it's a big issue, and it's the same rule basically of that, and it's a well-known rule, so it's not like it's something that was snuck by them that they weren't aware of. So that would be probably the issue with that. I was talking with Kyle Neddenriep when he was on, Rick, about this new. Well, first of all, there's the high school super league of the Lalamures and the IMGs and all those guys. Then you've got the overtime elite, which is a separate kind of a G League type of program that they're starting as well. The G League never took off to me, but this overtime elite, I think that they could probably expand this to where it could do exactly what the G League was trying to do. We'll see, but it offers the money.
Yeah, this is the one the Twins committed to yesterday.
Yes.
Aren't some kids even giving up their senior year of high school to go play in this thing?
Yes. Juniors and seniors will be playing in this.
To guys who are really driven that basketball is what they want to do for sure, and they're all in on that, I understand it. You have a chance to make money that you might not other have a chance to make. My question would be is, where's the money coming from? Who's putting it up? And how are they going to generate the money to pay these guys? Is it going to be on television? And if it is on television, it's going to be something that people are going to watch, or what cities are they playing in? Are people going to actually show up and watch these guys playing these games? I don't know. But yeah, it's for the schools that recruit at the very top level. It's got to be concerning because you can, and ask Mick Cronin about this at UCLA, you can spend a bunch of time recruiting a guy and you land a really good player. And then when it comes time for them to show up on campus, I changed my mind. I'm going to go play in this league. And then you're not only left without that player, you're left without really having a good option to replace him that late in the game.
Is there any way, I wonder, to make at a certain time letters of intent binding for a kid? I don't know if that would be fair, especially if they wanted to move to this instead, and now you are preventing them from working and earning money. I don't know if you could do that.
Right.
I'm just trying to think of ways.
I don't know enough about contract law because colleges really aren't paying these kids anything. I'm not really sure how they could hold them to that, but I wouldn't think that what'd you say the name of the league is again?
Overtime Elite.
Overtime Elite would not be very interested in working with any kind of agreement with the NCAA. I mean, they're competing with the NCAA. This is a pushback really in many ways to the NCAA's hesitancy through the years to modernize its model and set up a situation where kids are able to make some money. And so finally people have gotten impatient with waiting, and they know there's a market with these guys wanting to get paid. That's what they're doing. And there's some kids, let's be honest about it, for a long time, there's just a lot of guys that going to school and going to class just isn't their thing. They just aren't interested in doing it. So it eliminates, I think, part of the sham of that part of the whole process.
Yeah, and now we talk about name, image, likeness. That's an issue the NCAA has because there are 6 states now, I think, and there's more coming,
right?
That are already or as of July 1st will. I don't know how that's going to work, but of course, 5 out of those 6 are SEC states because football, they got to get their guys in there, but I don't know how that's going to work. And the NCAA has allowed this to now. It's like a tsunami hitting them, and I don't know that they're going to be able to handle name, image, likeness, one-time transfer, and all this at once. And it's basically because you said Mark Emmert and group just stuck their head in the sand for so many years, and now it's running over them.
Right. I mean, they've been totally reactive and slowly reactive rather than being proactive and being, incorporating some people into the leadership group who are more in touch and embracing what the modern culture is. Now, I don't agree with some parts of it, but I'm not the future of NCAA sports. You got to talk to the younger people and figure out what it is that really motivates them that they want, and how can they find a way to protect as much of their model as they can. I mean, I'm not in favor of the one-time transfer thing. To me, needs to have one major change. And what it would be for me is freshmen can't do it. I think if after your second year, if you want to do it, that's fine. But man, I think the freshman thing is just fraught with it. Guys don't learn anything about staying somewhere and working through their issues or delayed rewards or and for the roster to turn over, you've got a whole freshman class and then 2 or 3 of them are gone after 1 year. I just don't think it's good for the product. I don't think it's good for the kids, and I don't think it's good for the coaching staff.
That's the best suggestion I've heard yet, because now you think back, I guess it's probably been 40 or 50 years now that a freshman couldn't even play. I can't believe I just said it's been that long, because that sounds like
the 72-73 season. Quinn Buckner was and Jimmy Cruz and those guys at IU were in the first class that could play first year as freshmen. The year before, when it was Steve Green and Laskowski, they played freshman ball because I was a freshman at IU that year, and a couple times before games or after games one year they had a IU freshman game.
Wow, just crazy. They used to have a JV team and everything, right? Back in the day.
Kentucky had a JV team, but Indiana and Louisville, I remember, had freshman team because they played a game. It was Greeno and Laz and those guys, and Louisville had Junior Bridgman and Alan Murphy, and it was a really good game. And there were stories when Bill Walton and Kareem were at UCLA. They played freshman ball and beat the varsity. That one year UCLA, I think, was undefeated, and their only loss was to the freshman team.
Oh man, every time the early 70s come up, all I can think about is the talent that was in Indiana high school then, which it's always great. But was that that was, to me, I still think that was a special time. I mean, I'm thinking George McGinnis and you just mentioned Junior Bridgman, and there's so many other names, but I'm like, holy crap, the names that were in there, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean, you could go make a long list. There was, Woodson came out of Indianapolis in 1976. You had Dave Colescott and Kyle Macy, Kyle Macy was obviously a great player, led Kentucky to an NCAA championship. Up in the region, you had Pete Turgovich, Tim Stoddard, and Junior Bridgman on that East Chicago Washington team that didn't lose any games. Marion was loaded back then. Anderson, that was back in the days really when the North Central Conference was in its heyday. When I first started in the business, I worked in Anderson, and having grown up in Gary, I always thought that the high school basketball up there in Lake County was really good. But North Central Conference back then, you had Newcastle with Phil and Chrysler Arena with 9,000 seats. You had the Wigwam and Anderson, 8,800 seats. Muncie Arena was 6,000 seats. And you had to have season tickets to go to games. You did. And that was I loved those years up there, getting to know about the culture and all those towns and how much it revolved around high school basketball.
You have definitely come through the pipeline of pipelines. I mean, where you grew up, and then where you first got to work, and then where you ended. Now, I mean, it's like unbelievable, high school wise, which I know you don't do a lot of, but now you can add the Seymour gym to that for the Floyd Central, New Albany, Jeffersonville's, and all that. But yeah, no one has seen probably more basketball from a media side than you have. You mentioned the 70s, so you got to cover the 76 team as a student at IU. What a great ride. And you got kicked off the bus by Bob Knight.
Yeah,
is that right?
I almost got left behind in Iowa. I mean, there was another great story. This was the beginning of that Iowa trip. Indiana had been on the cover recently of Sports Illustrated for the first time, and Curry Kirkpatrick of SI wrote the story. And in it was a typical Curry Kirkpatrick thing. There was a lot of nice things written, but he took some shots at night. Said he howled at the moon. He called him a rampaging martinet. He said when they were in Hawaii, he never let the players leave their room, and they dined on bread and water. All of it was, and Knight hit the roof over that. And we got to Iowa, and we got off the bus, and we were getting off the bus, and I reached down into the bus to get my bag, and Knight put me in a headlock and started giving me a Dutch rub, in my head. And he said, "Who's your favorite sports writer?" Fortunately for me, for the one time I was ready with a quick response.
Bob Hamill?
Not Curry Kirkpatrick.
Oh.
And he laughed. Then I said, Bob Hamill. And he goes to the student manager. He goes, "Make sure this kid has a really nice room." And it turned out at this hotel, they set me up with a room with a waterbed. It was unbelievable.
Oh, my God. First of all, they have water beds in the hotels?
Yeah, and they did this. That's the only time in my life I've ever slept on a waterbed, and that was courtesy of Bob Knight.
And but wait a minute, you buried the lead. You got a headlock and a Dutch rub from Bob Knight.
Yes, I did.
Not many people. I've never heard anybody say that the headlock part maybe, but not the Dutch rub part.
Who's your favorite sports writer? I said, not Curry Kirkpatrick.
Oh man, that is a great. I've not heard that story. That is unbelievable.
I've got plenty of Night stories.
I'm sure. I can only imagine.
I was only around. I went on 2 trips. The first one was Northwestern, Wisconsin, and it was great on that one too. At night, after the players were in the room, like it was a Saturday game at Northwestern, and on Friday night at the hotel, late night snack, they were like, you got cookies and milk or cookies and a soft drink or whatever. And the knock on my door was there, and it was Mike Krzyzewski was the GA, and he was in charge of making sure everybody got cookies and milk. And I got my cookies and milk from Mike Krzyzewski.
Please, when are you going to start writing the book?
I know. I reminded that. Coach K had me on his radio show one time, and I reminded him that. He didn't remember, but I certainly did.
Oh, I guarantee it.
He was just the guy. He was just the guy that screamed at like everybody else.
My brother, Knight and Krzyzewski were doing a camp quickly in Charlotte. My family lives in Charlotte now, but when I was younger, I went down to visit my brother. They were doing a camp somewhere to a school, so we went to the school. He wanted to get a picture with him, and he got his picture, but it wasn't good enough for him. So he wanted another, and he went to the restaurant where they went. He ended up, Knight invited him over to sit down. Him and Krzyzewski are sitting there. I'm like, wow. My brother was like 16, and I'm like, he shows me this picture afterwards of them two. I'm like, because I left. I'm like, I'm not sticking around, bud. And I just laughed. But yeah, just funny times how you can have when you're in the right place at the right time, I guess.
Got lucky.
But what's coming up next for you?
Well, I'll be joining you in 40 minutes for the Mike Woodson interview. What else? Talking with Jerry Eves later today, who always has some interesting things to say about U of L. Not really a whole bunch going on here. I think Coach Cal's doing a press conference similar to Coach Woodson's on Friday. And I don't know how much you've been back recently, but soccer's really become pretty big here. We've got two pro teams.
Stadium is amazing, man.
I think on Saturday night they've raised the limit. I'm trying not to sneeze. They're hold on. They're going to have their largest crowd since the pandemic. They play Indy 11 on Saturday night. And a crowd of over 10,000. So this place is becoming a little bit of a soccer town. But basketball wise, I know I'm disappointed. You had Kyle on earlier, and that made me think back to the Kentucky-Indiana series. But the game's not being played in Louisville anymore. I think the Kentucky game's being played in Bowling Green. Owensboro, I think, this year, isn't it?
I think so. That's sad because I miss the Market Square and the Freedom Hall days, and those were fun times. Fun times.
It's sad to watch that game. You know, for those of us who remember what it used to be, to see what it is now, it's kind of sad because I can remember it was sold out, man. It was sold out in Freedom Hall, and it was sold out in Market Square Arena. In fact, the Freedom Hall didn't used to be air conditioned in the very beginning. And I remember people that used to go to it, they'd pass out fans. And the fan back then, it had like the rosters of both teams. So you could sit there and fan yourself and look at the rosters of both teams. And that's the famous game down here, I think, where the first game, Indiana beat Kentucky, but McGinnis didn't score many points. And this guy by the name of Joe Voskuhl from Covington Catholic made some comment afterwards like, yeah, he's a good player. I didn't see anything so special about him. And McGinnis came back the next game and dropped 53 on him.
Yeah. One of the great I wished, man, I'd love to have seen him play at IU under Bob Knight for those 2 years, what that would have been like. But make sure you follow Rick Bozich, WDRB.com. He's a Hall of Fame sports writer. Of course, you already know that. And everything he puts out is great, brother. I cannot thank you enough. It's always a blast when you come on. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great week, Jim. Always good talking to you.
Thank you so much. Rick Bozich joining us here, and we'll be back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty Indy Home Pros. Whether you're looking for...
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Rick. I appreciate you. I'll see you in
You're welcome.
35 minutes. Yes,
Bye.
sir. Man, that was just awesome.
That Bob Knight little thing was good.
That is a great clip.
Mm-hmm.
There's Eclipse.
Absolutely.
Let's see. What are we gonna have? Like
you'll have about 3 or 4 minutes.
Perfect. Do we have any clips?
No, not for today.
See if there's anything I can grab.
I mean, I have the oldest stuff that we never use, like the Phil Mickelson. But that's kind of you've already kind of talked about that a lot this week, unless you just want to revisit it.
Steve Downey's birthday. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, did I talk about the A&M receiver yesterday?
No, you did not. No, that happened after the show. You can bring that up. Cameron Buckley.
So all right. So Stanford, USC, Ole Miss.
Who's Stanford?
Texas A&M. That was last year. That's Jovan Swan.
Oh, Javon Swan. Gotcha. I thought you meant this year.
But there's more last year. I just can't even think. That one sticks out.
There's Dylan Powell, too. I think he also came from Stanford.
This year, there's been more. USC, Ole Miss, Texas A&M. There's one other I'm missing.
Auburn,
yeah.
and Michigan. Zach Carpenter.
Frickin'. That's
And if you want to really get a deep cut, you got Weston Kramer from Northern Illinois.
nope. Huskies don't cut the mustard, baby.
Oh, don't forget DJ Matthews, Florida State wide receiver.
Fuck.
All right, coming back.
You're looking for a new or a used vehicle, Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington's got you covered. They're Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. For deals like this, how about a new 2020 Honda Civic LX front-wheel drive lease for just $180 a month? Or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Realty, Indy Home Pros. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Remax Realty Indy Home Pros. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back. Finished up with Rick Bozich there, Hall of Famer. Former IU graduate with WDRB.com now. Man, he's got to write a book. I'm telling you, I am going to start staying on him. Those guys have, and his book would be great. It wouldn't be like Curry Kirkpatrick, who he was just talking about. That guy was a jerk. Not because of anything he said about it. I don't care what he said about IU. Couldn't care less. He was just one of those guys who I think he tried to make his bones by being more edgy than accurate. Not accurate, but sticking to the story. But who cares? Football-wise, Indiana adds another wide receiver. Came out yesterday as Cameron Buckley joins the Hoosiers from Texas A&M. He had 62 receptions for 872 yards, which is a 14-yard average and 4 touchdowns in 39 games with 4 starts. He's caught some footballs. He's played in that's the SEC. Let's look over the last, and I'm sure I might be missing some, but you've got guys that have come in from Stanford, Florida State, USC, Ole Miss, Michigan, Texas A&M, and Auburn coming to Indiana to play because they want to play at Indiana because they know that they can become an All-American here because they saw that last year, because they want to win. They know that they can do that here. They saw that last year. They want to be developed here. They saw that with the All-Americans that came in as 2 stars or 3 stars and are now All-Americans. They saw that the grass is not always greener on the other side. So now they can come here and play, make a difference. I'm telling you, I'm looking so forward to this football season, but you can't forget about the fans. It's going to be about, man, I'm excited about going to Iowa. That's hard to say because I remember making that trip last time for basketball. The last time I went to Iowa, though, was with Terry Hutchins. That was a fun trip. long but fun. Let's see. I see Shades. Although I have to say I am much more comfortable now than when I first heard of the Woodson hire. He's holding back excitement for his team, as you should. Just don't get all crazy. I've said don't go. People shouldn't go crazy. Don't think they're going to win the Big Ten and win a national championship. I'm not saying that they can't. Who knows? I don't know what they can do because no one knows what they can do yet. They're not even together. They haven't practiced together one dribble. So, hey, we're going to have Mike Whitson on, or we got a press conference with him today. We'll have that on tomorrow, but that'll be on the Hoosier.com today as well. So make sure you go there to stay up to date on everything from IU Athletics, the Hoosier.com, Indiana Rivals. That'll be uploaded there. And you can also always go to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on YouTube. And we'll get you covered there. But I cannot thank everybody enough today. Thanks to Cal Neddenriep and Rick Bozich for joining us. It's been another great fun day, and look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Dustin Schutte, Chris Denari, Matt Taylor. And we'll, of course, be hearing from Indiana basketball coach Mike Whitson. So for everybody else, I hope you go out, have a great rest of your day. Do something nice for somebody. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.